Thank you for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and also distinguished panelists. It's really a great opportunity to be here at this great forum, and thank organizer for the invitation. I would like to, the topic I'm actually to talk about today is the role of investment in building a new strategic partnership. I think that the theme of this topic of this section is really excellent. Trade and investment and as a catalyst for the peace and stability. So what I'm going to cover is in the next little while is about how investment is transforming China and the region as well. So we can see that what we can do in the future for strengthening this kind of cooperation. The overall picture of Chinese enterprise going global, I would like to discuss about that. And this is really, we see enormous growth in the last number of years, and also Chinese investment trend going around the world. And I would like to also talk about China-ASEAN cooperation, since we are having this conference in Philippines, and which is part of the ASEAN as well. And finally, I would like to give some recommendation to the China-ASEAN cooperation. As a matter of fact, the Center for China and Globalization has been the largest independent think tank in China. We have about over 100 full-time researchers and staff, and has been ranked actually in the last 2 years by the University of Pennsylvania Think Tank Center as the #1 independent think tank in China. We publish annually the China Blue Books on investment overseas. So I would like to give you some summary of the latest book we published, that we can see 3 highlights of that. First is China has become the net export for the first time since 2016, 2015. So China now, which means that the foreign investment coming to China is smaller than the Chinese investment going overseas now. That's #1. And #2, and China, of course, has bypassed Japan as the second largest direct investment source in the world after the US. And thirdly, China's investment to the US is also larger now than the US investment to China. So you can see these enormous happening, a lot of changes has been happening in the last number of years. Of course, we can see that, for example, in 1915, China overseas investment has reached 140 billion, and last year has reached 170 billion US dollars. And there was other estimate by other investment research institute that could be over 200 billion. So this is really a big investment overseas. And of course, China is used to be behind Japan in terms of foreign investment. Now it's also more than Japan in terms of investment overseas. And one of the things I think quite interesting now is, as Donald Trump has been saying that make America great again and attract investment to the US. As a matter of fact, there's a lot more Chinese companies are investing in the U.S. For example, the Huiyao glass, the auto glass maker, the largest one in the world, had just invested $1 billion US dollars and has built 3 plants in the U.S. One of them was in Ohio, and which is the state-of-the-art investment in the U.S. and of the auto glass manufacturing, which employs over 3,000 local jobs. So you see, this kind of a collaboration of China investment in the U.S. could be a promotion, could be a stability for the Sino-U.S. relations. So the trend of Chinese enterprise going global is quite alarming. Of course, you can see the steep growth like that. Of course, in the last year is even more. There's another, 30-40 increase compared with 2015. Now, this is the number just up to 2015. So we will see more enterprises going global in China. In terms of the region preference of China investment overseas, our think tank has done a survey among the Chinese manufacturers, and also we compile data to do some analysis on that. You can see Asia is still quite heavy in terms of China investment overseas, and Europe is another one, and North America and Africa. So basically in all parts of the world. And of course, in terms of the sectors of the Chinese investment, as I just mentioned, the manufacturing, actually, China is starting to go global. We used to see a lot of foreign companies come to China to do the manufacturing, but now Chinese companies are starting to invest more overseas. As I mentioned, that China automaker, auto glass makers just invested $1 billion in the U.S. Just a good example of that. There's many companies like that. So we see the Chinese manufacturing graduating and then starting to move their manufacturing base to other parts of the world. And also, in terms of the mode, we see a lot of merger acquisition, cross-borders acquisitions. That has been a main model of Chinese investment as well. The outbound investment of Chinese, the movement used to be Chinese state-owned enterprises play a lot of role, SOE, but now you see the majority of the investment now is private enterprises. So the private enterprises now plays more roles of Chinese investment overseas, and then there's a sharp increase of that, which is also quite interesting to look at that. And also Chinese small and medium enterprises also starting to increase. Just give you an example. For example, if you talk about the investor immigrants to the U.S., EB-5 visas, the U.S. issue about 10,000 visas a year on the investment visa, and the 9,000 of them were grabbed by the Chinese. So 90% of the EB-5 investments were from China, which a lot of are small and medium enterprises. Now, the globalization is starting to take in new terms, particularly of this current new government of China. Now, the President Xi has actually announced the One by One Road initiative, which regarded as a new initiative from China in terms of expand the globalization or enlarge the globalization scope, which they have a lot of elements to that. I'm not going to go all the details, but basically it covers if you want to make One by One Road initiative successful, there's 5 elements of that. There should be a people-to-people bonds. There should be the trade. There should be policy coordination, facility connecting, and financial integration. That's why China also set up AIIB, Asian Investment Infrastructure Bank. So that's good examples of OBOR. And so the One by One Road initiative actually is very, very grand in terms of its scope. It covers about 65 countries, and it's expanded through Southeast Asia on the Silk Road, Maritime Silk Road, but also it covers the land of the Silk Road through Central Asia to Europe. So it's a very ambitious plan, but I think if it works together with all the countries, and if it's beneficial to all the countries, that should be a very good project to work for. Now I'm going to talk a bit about the China-ASEAN cooperation, and I think China and ASEAN are both among each other the largest trading partners. I think that the strong cooperation between China and ASEAN countries, particularly the trade and investment, will contribute to the growth, to the peace and stability, and that's really the key. I think after the Second World War, we see the major peacetime of today is that the world is really relatively without a major conflict, is because precisely because of the trade and investment among the world countries. So if we continue that, I think it would be really good. So China has actually been very active in terms of doing have treaties, have cooperation mechanism, 10+1, 10+3, 10+6, and is actively participating. And also the trade between, for example, China-ASEAN trade has also increased quite significantly in the last number of years, with annual growth of 18%, which is enormous growth. So China is also active is the largest trading partner to many ASEAN countries as well, and also investment as well. And we can see China also, for that purpose, has formed the Broad Forum Asia, and that's really attaches great importance to ASEAN countries. And also they have built high-level dialogues and partnerships. And in China, there's ASEAN Expo. There's a variety of a mechanism to do that. Finally, I would like to touch a bit about the suggestions for the China-ASEAN partnership, because I think this region is really important. You know, in Southeast Asia, in China, particularly with all those countries, we have a lot of a mechanism in discussing, but I think we need to really move on to some more stable and carry out some new mechanism to enhance the trade and the stability, particularly among the BITs and also FTA trade investment. For example, China joined WTO, and then it has really the globalization has made China one of the most active trading partners in the world. And I think that if we have more global trade mechanism, that will help as well. So cross-border e-commerce is also very good way of doing that. China now, for example, out of the 10 largest internet companies, China accounts 4 to 5 of them. And of course, you know that Alibaba is the largest e-trading company in the world. And then e-commerce, it's also flourishing in China. And I hope that can bring new impetus to the ASEAN region by strengthening the e-commerce collaboration. And also, we talk about Donald Trump creates a TPP in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but I think that's actually there's a lot of countries are inviting China to participate. China is also actively involved on RCEP discussions. So I think the ASEAN and China should quickly really form a new trade mechanism in terms of the governance, the promoting the trade among the region, particularly for the Asia Pacific. And one of the idea actually China actually suggested, but also was one of the earliest idea promoted by APEC, by U.S. and China in a long time ago, was FTAP, Free Trade Agreement between China and Asia Pacific. So FTAP actually covers both RCEP and TPP countries, and that would be a very good way to do that in the future. We actually, CCG has I've done a lot of report on that. We actually released the report. We were saying that FTAP would be a good mechanism after TPP in the post-EPP TPP era. So there's many ways to do that. Given the time, I'm not going to say that, but there's many pros and cons in large RCEP, in large TPP, combine RCEP and TPP and FTAP and things like that. So there's many ways to tackle that. As a matter of fact, based on the Peterson Institute studies, that FTAP can generate more outcome for either TPP or RCEP. So it could be a good idea to combine both for the region. And so I think this is really the way that we should continue to discuss and to really make things happen in this region. And there's many ways to do that, and in strengthening the framework of negotiation, collaboration would be the way to go. And also using a network of Chinese diaspora Chinese overseas, which is very rich in the Southeast Asian countries. And also there's many other areas to collaborate. Because of the time, I'm not going to cover that. And finally, for CCG, the Center for China Globalization, we are, as I said, the largest independent think tank in China. We have offices in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Qingdao, and Shenzhen, and also quite a number of representatives overseas. So we hope to expand our collaboration with ASEAN countries and to cover the issues in ASEAN. And we published most of the blue books on the trade, talents, company going global investment, and things like that. And also we do the English publication as well. One of the books we talk about China Goes Global is just published last year. So I really enjoyed this conference, and I thank all of you for the attention. Thank you very much.